I'm Vince Menzione, and welcome to Ultimate Partners Winning in 2026 and Beyond Livestream. It's January 13th, and I am excited to welcome an incredible guest here today. But first, I just wanted to take a moment to spend with you to talk about these tectonic shifts. They're moving at hyperspeed. AI, cloud, marketplaces, and ecosystems. And if you're building a partner strategy this year, you can't afford to guess what moves to make. And that's why we're here, to help you achieve your greatest results. And so I'm excited to welcome my good friend, and joining us live in the Boca studio today, Jay McBain. Jay, you're no stranger to this ecosystem, no stranger to Boca, in fact. So good to have you here locally today. You've seen Jay McBain's fingerprints on all of these routes to market, marketplaces, influence, and ecosystem-led growth. In fact, it was Jay who coined the term, the decade of the ecosystem. Jay has a unique ability to combine big numbers with the mechanics of how deals are made happen. And that's exactly what we need now in 2026. So Jay, welcome to Boca.
Well, thank you so much for having me back. I'm excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you as we kick off 2026. You know, we had you join us in the fall at our fall event, and so I'm so excited to spend some time with you. We have been talking about this generational shift that we've been seeing, this technology ecosystem shift. And I just want to frame the conversation because we've been talking about hyperscaler dominance, and it's getting stronger and stronger right now. Everyone is in the cloud and cloud go-to-markets. Marketplace momentum, we finally reached this pinnacle point now where marketplaces are really starting to dominate the conversations and the transaction. You and I have been talking about this, the millennial being the new buying persona and the like for years now. And now we're at that moment, and we'll be joined by Cyril Belikoff here for the second part of this session. Rise of AI, we can't have any conversation without talking about AI, and we'll have a lot of conversation there. And then the ecosystem orchestration, it's so important today. We're moving away from old models, and so we'll have that conversation. And these tectonic shifts that we're seeing happening so rapidly today, I feel like from week to week, month to month, it's changing so rapidly.
It really is. We're in a time of economic change. We're in a time of technology change. But we're in the fastest growing industry now for 50 years in a row.
Crazy.
But it's not the same 50 years. The industry actually breaks down into these 20-year eras. It's a Taylor Swift version of our industry. But for those old enough, will remember the mainframe and mini eras of the 60s and 70s.
I do.
Right here in Boca Raton, August the 12th, 1981, the first IBM PC with Microsoft DOS version 1 and that famous licensing agreement that was just struck down the street.
Yep.
This was a time of upheaval. IBM was the biggest company in the world for a long, long time. And it was to the point where they're facing a 13-year antitrust battle with the US government. And like the monopolies before, like AT&T and Standard Oil and things before that, they were getting broken up by being too powerful and too much of a monopoly. But 13 years after this meeting in Boca, IBM didn't make payroll.
That is absolutely
That's how
crazy.
quickly these things changed. The cloud came in 1999 for 20 years. And now we're just coming into year 3 of AI.
I always wonder what would have happened if we didn't license, if Bill Gates had not licensed software to IBM at that point in time and just sold them the operating system, how things might have changed differently. But it really started to build this ecosystem we all talk about. And that moment happened right here in Boca, and ecosystem is still prevalent and important. We'll talk more about that. But let's start off with my burning question I have first. Let's cover it first. If you had to sum up 2026 for partners in one sentence, what is it, and what are people still underestimating?
Yeah, it's one word is probably opportunity.
Opportunity.
So we look around the world economy without technology in it is going to grow at 2.7%. That's about $120 trillion. With technology in it, technology industry, we're forecasting to grow by double digits.
Amazing.
In a world that's growing at 2, we're expecting 10.2% growth. And this industry, as you know, is surrounded by partners.
Yes.
And there are opportunities in hardware, in software, in services, in telco, all the different parts of the customer's budget. And to look through the double digits, though, I mean, the extension of the sentence is it's a tale of two cities.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this.
There isn't an opportunity in every slice. Some of the slices are shrinking by single digits. Some of them are growing by low single digits. But some of them are in the 20, 30, 40% growth range. And this is what partners are starting to think. These tectonic shifts that are happening, the ultimate partnerships that are happening, are in very specific places that you kicked off this session talking about.
Yeah, so I would love to dive in here because we have your slide up behind us, in fact, and talking about this $6.1 trillion economy around tech and telco, and this opportunity. So, you know, there are going to be winners and losers, right, in terms of these segments or slices of the economy. We can talk about that now. I think maybe it would be a good idea to talk about both the channel and why the channel plays such a big role in this growth, and then talk about what the winners and losers are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, broader, actually, if we go to the next slide, there is a declining number. And in the world economy, that 120 trillion, 75% of it moves indirectly. You bought your last car from a dealer, yep. You bought your last TV from a retailer, you know, peanut butter from a grocer, that type of thing. But the agencies, the brokers, the resellers, the retailers, the franchisees, the gas stations, pharmacies, grocery, all the different parts of the 27 industries, you know, play an incredible role. Our industry was at 75, not just 3 years ago.
Wow.
It dropped to 73.2 2 years ago, down to 70.1 last year, and this year's forecast to be 66.7. So it's dropping by about 3% each year. And it's this how money changes hands.
Yeah.
By the way, marketplaces, the massive growth in marketplaces, for everyone that doesn't own the marketplace is also an indirect sale. It should be helping these numbers.
Yeah,
but there's one company that's driving it, and happens to be the most valuable company in the world right now, NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And the broader data center build-up, mostly on consumer side, but this infrastructure data center build-out globally happening right now is mostly happening direct.
Yeah.
There are the Magnificent Seven who are spending hundreds of billions of dollars each on these chips and on this capability and capacity for this next 20-year era. And this is not a resell game. They're not buying through distribution and not buying through a reseller. And that's where you talk about haves and have-nots. You talk about this economy that, you know, NVIDIA, for example, was growing at triple digits, quarter in, quarter out, you know, becoming the most valuable company. And it's not a traditional technology opportunity.
Right.
There isn't managed service providers inside these data centers. There isn't technology folks like VARs and system integrators in plugging in the equipment.
Yeah.
So we got to watch and look at where this next shift takes us and where this multiplier opportunity wraps around it. So that's the second number here, 96%, which hasn't changed. This is a number, by the way, that Microsoft measures.
Yes.
And Microsoft looks at it, and, you know, second most valuable company in the world, measures every deal they're in and have been for decades. And they measure this 96% of partner assist, upwards of 7 partners in every one of their deals. And looking at this partner assist number is what drives them. And in Microsoft's case, you know, perhaps without a better product, price, or promotion than their lead competitor, AWS, they've outgrown them for 26 straight quarters.
Yes.
And they point to place as the reason why, that 2, 3, maybe even 4 of those 7 partners may be leading with Microsoft in critical moments. And so every company, large, medium, and small, look at this partner assist number, and this is where we take that ecosystem conversation.
So with 96% partner assist, why do partners touching everything still feel invisible in many cases? And what's the one move that they make or need to make them undeniable to vendors in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, this is a long legacy. There's 44 years of legacy of being measured at the point of sale, where programs were built and paid at the point of sale. Yeah. Assuming you did a bunch of stuff like consulting and design and advisory before the point of sale, assuming you're going to stay after the sale and get the renewal and get the upsell, cross-sell, and enrichment, there was this assumption, but you were really recognized only at one moment. And when we did the survey last year across 20,000 partners around the world, the number one thing they're asking vendors for now is to recognize, measure, monitor me at every moment. 28 of them before the sale, every 30 days forever after the sale. Yep. At the point of sale, the provisioning, the procurement, all the pieces of where we add value. And now Microsoft was one of the leaders that came out with a point system over 3 years ago to say we're going to start measuring and spreading the program dollars around a little bit like peanut butter. There's over 400 companies now who have followed suit. Cisco goes live in 2 weeks. So we're in this mode now where the world is changing of economics, of partnering. It's changing how recognition happens, and it's the number one thing partners want.
Yeah, we're moving away from the gold, silver, bronze days of the past and tying them to these moments in particular. So your top partner growth opportunities list, you had that recently, and I don't have that slide here, but I thought we could talk about it because you talked about the fact that the winners and losers will be in different buckets, right? In terms of the growth, where the growth will be, and where we'll start to see organizations be the laggards. Yeah. So where will the growth lane be, and where will the laggard lane look like for partners in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, we start at the growth. I mean, the fastest growing opportunity for partners by orders of magnitude is AI-related services.
Yeah.
And you look at the whole gamut, there's hundreds of services that extend every business, has to be thinking about AI. And, sometimes we, talk in riddles and sometimes we overemphasize things. But, one of the things I led off your session up in Reston with is that 53% of Fortune 500 companies don't survive 20 years. If you go back 20 years from today,
crazy.
Over half of them don't survive. And these are the 20-year eras that we just set up.
Yep.
So you're looking in any industry, there's 297 sub-industries, and you're thinking about your competitors, and you're thinking about how AI is going to impact your sub-industry. And you're not going to be perfect, but you got to stay 10 or 20% ahead of your competitors. So every company is thinking about the impact of this next generation. Partners have over a 35% compounded growth rate on services connected to AI up until 2030. So it's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars of services right in that area, and working with the customers you already work with to actually think through every process, every part of their product and their customer and the experience.
So what are the hardest pivots that partners are going to need to make then this quarter to stay ahead of this growth lane and get involved in more succinctly in the AI game?
So, I mean, one of the changes is getting into the right lane. We're watching things like certifications and competencies. Training a lot of times in prior eras, client server or cloud, was checking a box. And it was, you need this many qualified people to get to this program dollar. So somebody read the book and said, hey, we need 12 people to go take this training. Now ChatGPT will do the training for you. You check the box. And nowadays, it's not that. So we're doing surveys. We actually did one on behalf of AWS. And over 80% of their customers take this very, very seriously. So when they're choosing the 7 partners that are going to surround them, to drive outcomes for clients, over 80% are looking at certifications and competencies and saying that, this is critically important. The one number that really surprised us, it was like 78% of those came back and said, it's not a one and done. Nowadays, if you got trained in AI 6 months ago, it was probably like getting trained in tech 20 years ago. So your skills no longer apply. So what we want to see is the consistency, this lifelong learning, but this in AI, every 6 months, you got to kind of retrain yourself on where we're at. This Moore's Law has taken on a new
Do you
growth.
even think it's every 6 months? I almost feel like it's continual. Like every day you've got to train yourself. You got to spend a couple hours a day.
You're engaged with your customers and things like that, but just leveling up to where the industry is and what AI itself is doing to inject into this training. But knowing that at the end client level, we're in the 8 out of 10 people really focused on where partner skills are. And this, you would argue the relationship that you've spent 10, 20, 30 years building is important too, because that allows you to, get into that room. But it's not, playing golf and having, late night beers is enough anymore. So that's where,
the old channel chief days.
So that's where partners, and, kind of this slide here is something, and this was a labor of love for an analyst.
This was 2 years work, I
This was
understand?
2 years of work.
Unbelievable.
Because here's something AI can't do.
Yeah.
Over 98% of the top 1,000 partners in the world are private companies. And they're not open about sharing their P&L and what services they actually do and what customers they serve and what geographies they serve. And so they're kind of closed books. And when you read their websites, there's a bunch of digital sameness. Everybody's copy and pasted everybody else's words.
Yes.
So even Google or the large language models today can't determine one partner to the next. Who's better at what? Because they've never really shared that level of detail. So again, 2 years and thousands of analyst hours to come to the industry's first kind of Fortune 500. And for those of us that have grown up in channels or grown up in partnerships, we've always known the 80-20 rule never existed. It's probably 95-5, and maybe it's even 99-1, but we proved out with this research, it's actually closer to 99.9,
99.9 to 1, yeah.
The top 1,000 logos that you see up on the slide deliver 2/3 of the world's tech services. Over $1 trillion delivered in only 1,000 companies. Even more, the 30 in blue in the middle deliver more tech services than the 970 in white on the outside. The 970 deliver more tech services than the next million companies combined. This is our industry, and if you're looking to win in enterprise, for example, mid-market up through enterprise and public sector, this might be 80 to 90% of your TAM. It's pretty much guaranteed that 1, 2, or 3 of these logos are going to be one of the 7 partners surrounding your customer. So this is this surround strategy, it's an ecosystem strategy, but it's not the millions of companies. And where it's changing, the shift that's happening with professionals in this industry. We grew up on flywheels. We grew up with theory.
Yes.
We are always in front of our board or our C-suite, to kick off the year, talking about how important partnerships are, and there's some fancy flywheel behind us showing the force multiplier, and we always had these fancy things, and we're now getting to the point, and I think sales got here, marketing got here, and this is the year we're gonna get there, because we're gonna talk about names, faces, and places. There are 1,000 companies that I can upload and find out my wallet share. I can find out the gap opportunities. We've always known $1 million partner is not $1 million partner.
Right.
If I find out that they're doing 1.2 million in my category, I should send them a baseball cap and put them in the front row of our event.
Absolutely.
MVP leather seat. If they're doing 10 million in my category and only 1 million with me, it means that the customer is probably demanding that they sell, but 9 times out of 10, they're leading with my competitor. So I don't want a listing of partners anymore by revenue. Don't give me the top-down spreadsheet I get every week, every month, every quarter. Give me the gap analysis. Show me where those $9 million gaps are. Show me what the lowest hanging fruit is. And I'm gonna come to the board, I'm gonna come to my C-suite, I'm gonna go to the CRO, the CEO, I'm gonna say, and the CMO, and I'm gonna say, listen, let's put our program dollars here, let's put our people here, let's wrap our technology around this, and let's go break into some of these gaps, get more than our fair share.
Nice.
And this is the new way of thinking about partnerships.
And being one of the 7 seats at the table, filling in those gaps for the customer.
Absolutely, and if we win 1 seat, our chances go up. And the better thing is if we win one of the 7 partners, it adds to our pipeline.
Yep.
We can see the deal for the first time. And if we inspect the deal, we find out that maybe 1 partner isn't enough. 6 partners are voting one way, 1's partner, and they're gonna get democratically outvoted.
Yep.
But now if we win 2 partners, maybe our chances of winning the deal just doubled or tripled. But if we win 3 partners, we're gonna win 90% of the deals. The customer's not going to, for the people that have earned the trust over decades, they're not gonna overstep 3 different partners that are telling them to go our direction. So this is the new world. This is if I can see it, and if the pipeline, and we can inspect it, and I can have my marketing and sales and CX folks all working alongside, this changes everything. And this is this is how we see deal by deal, partner by partner, and build the technology, agentic technology to do this.
Yeah, and I want to double click here. You talked about agentic technology and AI. I just want to go back in on this. So where is the money? Where's the real money for the partners that are participating? Microsoft, we'll talk to Microsoft about Frontier Firm in a little while, but is it on advisory? Is it on build? Is it on managed services or ongoing optimization of the stack? Where is it?
Yeah, all the above.
All of the above.
So Microsoft is famous for $8.45 of multiplier. We've written probably 3 dozen of these reports just this year. So whether you're in a cyber platform, whether you're in a hyperscaler platform, big SaaS platform, the first thing the CEO does when they get on CNBC or they get on their keynote in Vegas is say, hey, you can make $7.05, you can make $7.13, and here's where it is. This percentage of it is in consulting advisory. This percentage is in design and architecture, implementation, integration, managed services. This is how much. It's a small little slice in procurement. If you want to resell, that's fine. But here is the opportunity. And there's no customer on the planet that's going to outsource 7 to 1.
Right.
it's not advisable that anyone hands over the keys. You have to have some insourced talent to keep the thing running. But what would have been in the past, maybe 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, is quickly becoming 3-to-1 to say that I can't find as an end customer the AI talent to do this. I can't find the cyber talent. I can't find the infrastructure talent. I can't find the talent. Even if I did, I can't compete with these Magnificent Seven. I can't compete with these big partners in terms of what they can pay. So now my ability, and now a younger buyer, majority buyer now being a millennial, loves a team sport. So they don't mind this outsourcing of talent where they need it. And that's why there's 7 partners around the table. But in this multiplier effect, the biggest opportunity for partners is not a specific skill or not a specific part of the journey. It's actually understanding this multiplier and better serving the customer through before, during, and after the transaction, and getting from $1 to $2 to $3 a multiplier. So if Microsoft wins $100,000, I win $300,000 at 75% margin and a sticky customer that's going to continue to enrich every 30 days forever.
I love that. We can talk all day about AI. There's a couple of things specifically, though, but what is the one misconception that partners have about Agentic AI's impact on go-to-market?
Yeah, well, the misconception, kind of broadly at this point, is that all of the hype cycle in the first 2 to 3 years of build-out has been all consumer.
Yeah.
So NVIDIA being the richest company, and Elon Musk becoming the richest person, and all the changes that are happening, and how the world's mostly it's a consumer story.
It is.
ChatGPT became the fastest growing product in history, and to the point of having 850 million daily users. And
crazy.
Just in a couple of years, we've all changed our behavior from going to do a search and getting a bunch of links and then clicking the links to try to find the answer to answer first.
Yeah.
And you start to think now through the business side of it. 99% of world's business data has yet to be trained or tuned into models. 83% of it sits in cold storage at the edge. So I always tell the story, probably the most likely story in our industry is when you get your flight canceled. And now you've got this chatbot that comes and cancels your flight and is very empathetic, feels really bad for you, but it can't do anything.
No.
So what I would like as a consumer when you do that is to go download my 53 years of flying and understand what kind of flyer I am. Because I could be we're sorry we canceled your flight. We've already got a Marriott night for you and an Uber waiting at the curb, and we'll have you back here at 5 a.m. for the next available flight. Or you happen to be like me, we're gonna get you on a flight. You gotta run across the airport, but we got a flight waiting to go, and that'll get you about 6 hours away from your home and your kids. We already have a Hertz rental waiting, and you're gonna drive that 6 hours, but you're gonna be home to take your kids to school tomorrow. So that's the business data, and that goes to finance, that goes to pharmaceutical. It goes into every industry. But if that chatbot got access to the business data and being able to act on a richer set of data about you personally, and then became agentic. Again, I don't want to go to Marriott, I don't want to go to Uber, I don't want to go to Hertz. There's 1,000 permutations in a canceled flight. And I want to notify my family, and there's so many things going on. That agentic work becomes everything, which,
I love it.
By the way, in our partnership term, is called integrations.
Yeah.
Our buyer is now an integration first buyer. It's their number one criteria. And every company thinking through their adjacencies, including technology companies, have to be the most integrated of their set of competitors.
So we need to get this part right.
We have to get this part right.
What do you think? What do you think the time horizon is for that? When are we going to see that chatbot that comes back and says, "Jay, I've rebooked your flight. I've got the Hertz rental car ready for you. I've notified Michelle and the kids, and here you go."
Yeah. Well, for me, that's a 10-year horizon.
Okay.
The biggest problem is no airline right now, no company right now wants to open up their cold storage and forklift it up into a consumer level large language model.
Yeah.
So the security isn't set yet, the governance, the compliance, the risk, all the different things. Nobody wants to be first in that area. So we're running little pilots. The pilots aren't converting into production at the level we want. But that goes back to the Bill Gates quote. We tended to overestimate what would happen in 2 years.
2 years.
But we're absolutely underestimating what's going to happen in 10.
Yeah.
This has been the fastest growing industry for 50. It's going to be for the next 10 guaranteed, but probably for the next 20 to 50 as well. And this is that stage of how do you start to make these integrations? If you go to the platform slide, this is the, I tried to think through what would the book read when 53% of companies that we know and love today fail? And somebody writes the book. They invented the thing that killed them, or they, it was mismanagement or whatever it is. The book always starts, you blame the CEO for the first chapter. You blame the board, fiduciary responsibility in the second chapter. But now you got like 8 more chapters to write. I think the answer is here.
I agree.
Winning in the AI era is platforms. And big platforms working with other platforms. Up on the upper right, the integrations. That's the number one criteria. It's the airline working with all the different pieces. It's the real estate agent working with all the different pieces, the bank working with all. Our lives all become interconnected. And these agents start working side doors and back doors on our behalf before we ever know we need them, before the flight's even canceled.
Yeah.
And then the 7 partnerships, the services and channel partnerships. If you're in cybersecurity, 91.6% of it goes through the channel. That's how it's transacted. You need channel partnerships. But you also need partnerships with the other 6 partners around the table. You're not just going to win with that one reseller. You're going to have to build the other partnerships. So to get to the 2 or 3, that's the services and channels. You have to win in alliances. This is a big part of ultimate partnerships.
Yes.
Is winning with the hyperscalers, winning with the SaaS companies, winning on these marketplaces, winning with the big cyber platforms, distribution platforms. These bigger platforms are starting to take shape, and this is what they look like. Working well, and you could compete tooth and nail in the morning and be best friends by the afternoon.
Yeah, your frenemies.
Your frenemies.
Yeah.
And then finally, it all comes to go-to-market. You got these 28 moments before a sale. And somebody is earning and winning those moments. And in the majority of cases, you're never going to see these moments. And that's why your pipeline is less than half of your TAM and maybe less than 10% of your TAM, because you just don't have visibility to where your buyers are. But the more partners, the 7 partners that you connect to, you're going to start to see them. And the more technology and more agentic technology that you connect, you don't want humans filling out deal registration forms. You don't want humans calling other humans. You want all of this being shared. The more of this you do in go-to-market, the co-selling, the co-marketing, co-innovation, all of this comes together. This is the rest of the book. If the companies today in every industry aren't driving a platform in their own industry, they're going to probably fail.
Absolutely. We talk about situational awareness in an account. You talk about the 7 seats at the table. The customer is talking to all these companies. You may not know about it. You think you're dominant in the account, and they're relying on all these decision makers that, I think you said 6.3 is the actual number, right? Yep. Analysis-wise, how many organizations are part of that trusted group. You need to go influence all of those. You need to build, co-develop, co-create with those organizations as well. And you need to be thinking about the whole ecosystem. This ties into this conversation about the decade of the ecosystem. You've been talking about it since 2020, maybe a little bit before. I think you might have, even in this podcast studio, we might have been one of the first times we talked about the decade of the ecosystem. But it really feels like this is the moment that all of this comes together. Maybe this slide defines why organizations need to think ecosystem and not vendor channel. Would you agree?
Yeah, and there's a couple of companies, and more than a couple, that kind of have this slide posted in the CEO's office.
Yeah, it should be.
And
every CEO should see this.
I remember, personal story. I've got to spend a couple hours with Michael Dell down in Round Rock. Yeah. He invited in the 30 biggest partners they have around the globe.
I love it.
And locked the room and turned the shades and everything else. And literally the person that wrote the book, Be Direct. Yeah. And he was right. It was never about how money changes hands. Let the customer decide. If it's a marketplace, if it's indirect, if it's direct, it doesn't matter as long as the money comes in your favor. But what he's focusing, and Dell has a long legacy of direct, but 60% of the company's now indirect.
Yes.
So the money changes hands indirectly. But again, 96% of the deals they're working on now in AI and these factories and everything else are plugged in with Microsoft and OpenAI and NVIDIA and a bunch of other companies. So recognizing this, for somebody who wrote the book on direct and had the #1 stock in the 1990s.
Sure did.
This is posted in the office. Yeah. This is where Dell, finishes this 20-year era as being the best in their class on a slide like this.
And Salesforce got this as well. Salesforce was always a direct model, but it built the marketplace first. Yeah. And it recognized that it needed to surround the customer with all the solutions they needed to enrich that platform.
Yeah. So there's an interesting story. I mean, Salesforce is a great example of a platform, best platform in SaaS, and maybe ServiceNow and Workday and HubSpot and a few others, in that group of the best platforms. But here's a company that grew up to 40 billion direct. But one of the things that happened in the middle of that, 20 years, 25 years, is that there was no economics for partnering. So there was hundreds of thousands of connected third-party partners that were making the $6.13 of Salesforce multiplier, but there was never any economics. So when Salesforce announced, and they might even be changing the name of the company to Agentforce and becoming this horizontal winner of AI, here's what stuck out to somebody who's a analyst in partnerships, is they're competing with companies like Microsoft and others who are also trying to become horizontal winners in AI.
Yes, they are.
Who have 20% of their P&L targeted towards partners. And if it doesn't flow in the deal, the resale deal, Microsoft lowered their marketplace margins to 3%. Guess what? There's still 17% to help in consulting and training and the market development funds and all the different pieces. So it's spreading it out, this point system by peanut butter. Salesforce never had the money. And they've had to redo their P&L, and they're a public company, so this is very painful for their investors and everything else to recognize that a dollar isn't a dollar. A dollar is 80 cents. And for us to be a horizontal winner in AI, we're not paying out to the channel 20% margin. What we're doing is doing all the work necessary to win the 28 moments, win every 30 days forever, and establish this platform. That's what costs money. Platforms cost money. And it's, a percentage of the deal.
We've been talking 28 moments, but you have a slide. I thought we'd spend some time here because, every conversation with you is about 28 moments, but you finally took the time to analyze one of your deals or one of the deals that was going on with one of your clients and come up with the 28 moments. I thought we'd spend a little time here because this journey slide is a wake-up call. It's all around why we need to think about all of those points. We need to think about communities and analysts and marketplaces and proof of concepts and architecture and everything else. I thought maybe you'd take us through this a little bit because this was for a client, AstraZeneca. By the way, this was, if you don't know this, ICI Americas was the precursor of AstraZeneca. It was the first SAP customer in North America.
Nice, I did not know that.
That's why Microsoft and SAP both headquartered in that area nearby that client.
That's new news. And by the way, this is an SAP deal we're looking at. So two things here. One is that while I was declaring the decade of the ecosystem, spending time with you and Boca, in between that time, we got acquired. Canalys, which was Latin for channel, got acquired by Omdia, part of Informa, TechTarget, part of this bigger Informa company, which is a Fortune 100 company out of the UK.
Fantastic.
We're part of this massive organization that is really around buyer intent. How, TechTarget and running hundreds of magazines like Information Week and Computer Week that customers and partners read, running hundreds of events, the biggest events on the planet.
Crazy.
In B2B, like Black Hat and all these things are run by Informa. So it's got this massive mountain of data about the 28 moments. So when you start to think, if you're a CMO and you start to think about the early moments, you think about somebody reading an ebook or going to a webinar, or going onto a LinkedIn Live, just like this one, going to a major event and getting a pair of socks from you. But anything early in the journey, these are the MQLs. These are the things that I need enough of them to be credible before I hand them over to my sales team because I don't want to be laughed out of the room. Hey, they read an ebook. AstraZeneca must be buying millions of dollars of stuff.
Traditional marketing lead.
Traditional marketing lead. So they're a bit nervous about sharing that. And then later on, the sales motions, the demos and all the progression of the sales. This was the 2 decades before us, the decade of sales, decade of marketing. But the 28 moments, just to take a step back, if you haven't heard it, is just a considered purchase. It's about psychology, human psychology. When you go and buy a car, second most expensive thing that you will purchase, you on average will go through 28 moments getting ready for that purchase. Some people go through 2 moments, and they just drive to the Cadillac dealership to see Larry, who's been selling Cadillacs to the family for 80 years. Some people spend 58 moments, that's probably me.
That's you, Jay.
Going through all the depreciation, watching every YouTube video, going to the end of the earth. But the average is 28. So you start to think about this. This is the same buying a car, considered purchase that you would buy $1 million in software from Microsoft or SAP. So when you look at these moments, you start to think, how as you before you buy that car, downloading the invoice price, downloading this month's back-end rebates. Should I buy it in January? Should I buy it in February? All these decisions you make before you get to that dealership. Yeah. You're smarter than the salesperson, smarter than the sales manager. You know what 5,000 people bought the car for within 50 miles of you. I mean, you're just so smart, you actually don't need the dealership anymore. Just Carvana it to me, hand me the keys.
Exactly.
But now in buying technology, hardware, software, services, customers are getting this smart. And here's all the moments they take to get this smart. But the thing we always had in mind in this decade of the ecosystem was the 96%. There are trusted people spending decades building that trust that come in critical moments. They're not marketing moments, they're not sales moments, they are fully partnership moments. Yep. And they're on this slide in light blue. So if you were to look at this deal, and somebody in marketing is finding these ebooks and webinars, and they think there might be something, AWS got a direct hit on their website, so there's something brewing at AstraZeneca. It might be, and it's a big pharmaceutical company, so it's probably spending millions of dollars if something's brewing. Yep. But guess what? At the same time, in December on this 6-month journey, partners come in with 5 different paid projects, consulting, advisory, design projects. And in this case, it was NTT, Software One, Yash, and ISV was there. Yep. But NTT won 3 different deals right at that critical stage. It wasn't Accenture, it wasn't Deloitte. NTT at this particular department of AstraZeneca had spent the decades building those relationships, so they were the one, and they won critical part of this. And so that's when the deal is won. And it's not at April when the money's being spent. Yep. It's not in March when a couple more ISVs joined the mix, that 7-layer stack that solves this particular problem. It was right there. So if you're a vendor trying to get into that 7-layer stack, and you don't have that relationship or you don't have the knowledge that NTT or Software One is going in, this will have been a deal that would have never hit your pipeline, and you'll have no knowledge. So you will have lost this deal without knowing there was a deal, which makes up, again, the majority of your TAM. Yeah. But what if I did have this agentic ability to see this deal coming? And I'm a cybersecurity company. I'm just competing for layer 5 of the deal, but I know that it's all happening in December. So the 2 things that jump out on this particular slide is, 1, they don't just show up in December. No. This went closed won in their Salesforce CRM in August, September, well before the customer ever read an ebook. So now you're not dealing with a flimsy MQL. You're dealing with a couple of great, top partner 1,000 sized firms. One of them's a partner 30 firm. Exactly. That is absolutely going into and earning hundreds of thousands of dollars in services to guide the customer to millions of dollars in purchase. And you can imagine in that boardroom with a CMO saying, hey, I got this stuff here, and the head of channels or partnerships saying, no, this is real. Here's the names, faces, and places, and here's how it's happening. And this is the Gantt chart. This is the show up. This is the project. This is the outcome. This is exactly how it's playing out. Now, if I could go back, and the board and the C-suite should be asking us, well, how many more deals like this can you see? Yeah. If our TAM is, how many billions of dollars, could you double our pipeline by seeing more of these middle moments? And if we got a couple of months to spend with these partners before they get in front of the customer, could they build more of our portfolio into the deal? So we're not just layer 5, maybe we're layer 3 and layer 5.
This slide screams at me, tech integration, a partner channel integration of tech. Whether it's Crossbeam, whether it's Partner Tap, whether it's WorkSpan, or any of these other technologies, Tackle, any of these technologies that are tracking marketplace, that are tracking partner-to-partner co-selling, getting the integration points. The only way to really understand the situation here, because this is a multinational company, it's being touched at all points around the globe, and to understand who's calling who's influencing who, and getting a real view, an Uber view of what that looks like is super important.
It is. And if I'm trying to sell like a Crossbeam or Partner Tap or WorkSpan or something into my executive team, I'm just showing them this slide.
Exactly.
Would you like to know about this deal? Like you see October is the start of the timeline here. Would you like to know about this deal in August, September? Yep. Would you like to know about it automatically? Again, we're not waiting for somebody, a human in a cubicle, to go fill out a form. We're not waiting for them to call somebody at in a cubicle at our company. Yep. We're literally agentically sharing platforms. And so when this triggers at AstraZeneca, it now triggers in our CRM system as well. Our team on AstraZeneca gets notified, and it gets notified in September before the 28 moments even starts. The power of this, of doubling, tripling your pipeline, and then winning a bigger yield, a bigger percentage of that pipeline, this is the holy grail of our industry, and no one's going to get to 100%. You're not going to have 100% of your TAM covered by your pipeline. No one's going to win 100% of that. But again, we only have to be 10 or 20% better than our competitors, and we need to start moving on this now.
So your imperative for the partners here, well, everyone watching here today, I mean, this screams to me, build your ecosystem strategy in such a strong and succinct way. What else would you say to them?
I mean, the second thing that jumps out, you see 2 AWS direct touches here. This is something that this would be inbound. This AWS would see this deal in their pipeline because the customer came to them. AWS lost this deal.
Crazy.
So Microsoft won this deal. I mentioned Microsoft outgrowing AWS. Because in this particular case, NTT and Software One and Yash came in with Microsoft to solve an SAP optimization, Microsoft, and 7-layer deal. So whether you're in AWS, whether you're in Microsoft, whether you're anywhere else in this industry, you're thinking like, you're not going to probably overtake what happens in December. These are the most trusted, smartest people in the room, and whatever happens in those projects is the 7-layer stack the customer's going to buy in March, April. So I start to think about this and go, I need to win, because NTT has a wonderful relationship with AWS.
They do.
I mean, partner of the year level. I mean, they've got 10,000 people certified. I mean, there's just there's no one at AWS that, would take a loss here, because it's a wonderful relationship. And Software One.
They go back to Microsoft actually 30, 40 years though. They were Dimension Data before that. And they have the long legacy. And Software One as well. Well,
Software One is Microsoft's biggest reseller in Europe, and now with Crayon, one of the biggest in the world. So I would be nervous if I was looking at this and saw Software One coming in with NTT and watching these things take place. If I were able to see this back in September, October, and work with these companies, that's where kind of Microsoft came into the picture. And this never hit Microsoft's pipeline. No Microsoft salesperson ever worked on it, but millions of dollars came to Microsoft out of this deal. So there are examples of where Microsoft gets touched and AWS wins the deal. So this isn't meant to say that it happens in every case, but it's meant to say data rules the future, and agentic AI, the ability to plumb in these boxes, working with Informa TechTarget, people that can plumb in the boxes for you with third-party data, helping you with the light blue boxes. We got to be obsessed over these light blue boxes.
It's incredible. So I want to talk a little bit about Marketplace, because we're almost at close now. And we've talked about Marketplaces ad nauseum in our events and with you as well. But now we've got the multi-billion-dollar club. We've got the billion-dollar club and the multi-billion-dollar club. And we have crossed the inflection point for sure. We have Cyril coming on. We'll talk about all the incredible things happening out of Microsoft around Marketplace. But you've been seeing this and you've been documenting this quite a bit. What would you say for those who are watching and listening around their Marketplace, what their go-to-market should be around Marketplace, and what do we need to go do better and different in 26?
Yeah, one of the early calls that we made on Marketplace like 4 or 5 years ago is that they were going to grow at 82% compounded. As an analyst, you don't like making those calls because that's almost like doubling every year, like you're in a Moore's Law here. You could be wrong really big if you make those big predictions. It was probably one of the predictions we got almost to the decimal point correct.
Crazy.
And so now we spanned it out till 2030. It makes up $163 billion of our industry. But what we're watching inside of it is that 96%. How much of it is partner funded, multi-partner offers, different private offers, different distributor sellers of record? Microsoft just announced a big reseller program that you'll be talking about.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it.
So all of these different things include partners. So inside of that huge growth, we're seeing 59% of it as being partner funded, on its way to 96%. So a marketplace deal, while the architecture, where the money changes hands through the marketplace, the actual economics of partnering, now in 59% of cases, will come through the marketplace as well. And that's where service providers,
you hear that, partners?
And system integrators and everyone else will be earning money through the marketplace, as opposed to direct billing the customer. And then the customer gets the credits, they get the additional discounts. And now you're serving this younger buyer who doesn't want to go through a digital 28 moments and end up with a fax machine. In terms of how they order.
And a TAM of $500 billion, right? What is the total TAM available? It's over $500 million in cloud commitments, because these organizations, whether it be multinationals or what other organizations, are making these huge commitments to the cloud. And as part of that, they get to do this burn down. This is the TAM, so you don't have to go look for additional budget.
Yeah, and so you talked about technology, the tackles, Labras, Klazars, all the technologies around this, but I got to be plugged into this, because those 1,000 logos that we showed probably have an 80 to 85% overlap with those $600 billion in credits.
That's right.
So it's not going to Larry in the white van, a small MSP, down the street. It is large enterprise, large public sector, large partners. It's economics in the billions of dollars that you need to be plugged into if you want to be winning those deals. And it all comes together in the marketplace.
Jay, incredible to have you again today. Great to have you come all the way down here from Boynton Beach. Jay, I don't know if we had any questions, but we maybe have 1 or 2 minutes while Jay is still here. We've been on the LinkedIn Live, so I haven't been able to look at the chat, but do we have anything on the chat, John? Yeah. We'll put it up here. Okay. And we will be, so while we're getting the questions, I'll just, selfish plug for Ultimate Partner. We're going to be back here February 25th. We'll be talking about that more, but Jay's been in this studio before for other events that we've done and been on the podcast. But we open up this studio and we have about 50 to 70 people will be able to be in the room. We're actually hosting our dinner is at the Boca Club, which is owned by Michael Dell, one of his private equities firms, and it's an incredible time to get a lot of the leaders in the room, as you know.
I do, yes.
The value of getting the connections, these ultimate partners all together is incredible.
Yep. Well, tectonic shifts. It's all about community.
Yeah.
Humans at the very core psychology. I mean, we're tribal in nature, and we share. Again, even if we compete, there's stuff we can learn from each other. It's a small industry. 18 months later, you could be my boss, I could be your boss. Yeah. It's a strange industry, and this peer connection, the community, the grassroots in our industry, is what makes us the fastest growing industry, and will continue to.
And you talk about trust and the fact that we're relying now more on ChatGPT and other AI and Copilot, but we need to feel that trust. So we get that trust human to human in the room, not from a machine.
Yeah. And some of the biggest logos in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Sitting in one room.
Sitting in one room. Any questions over there, John? No? They are a shy bunch. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, you know what? If we have any other questions, we'll take them offline. We'll feed them over to Jay. We know how to reach each other. Great to have you back again, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much.
And we're going to take a 1 or 2 minute break, and we're going to be back with Cyril Belikoff, Vice President of Microsoft. Thank you. Okay, we are back live, I've been told. I am thrilled to be joined now by Cyril Belikoff, Vice President of Commercial Cloud and AI Marketing. What an uninteresting title you have, Cyril. And what a remit you have. Incredible.
Yeah, good to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulously. I can't believe it's 2026. Like, we were just together in San Francisco at the Ignite event. And I'm so thrilled to welcome you, because it's such an important time now as these organizations that are part of Ultimate Partner, that follow what we do, the thousands and thousands of organizations trying to achieve their greatest results, really lean in for 2026. And so what a great time for us to talk about all the things that have been going on at Microsoft, everything that's been happening this year. I'll preface it for those who don't know you. I'll ask you to say a few words about your remit. But I've known Cyril for many years at Microsoft. This past year, which, we're Microsoft, we're in the second half of Microsoft's fiscal year. But he took over the marketplace business for Microsoft and has really, at a time when it really needed nurturing, I would say, and has really done some incredible things to reinvigorate the market, not reinvigorate, but really kick it up a level in terms of the work that's going on. We're going to spend some time on that, but we're also going to talk a little bit about and follow up to our conversation that we had in person at the Ignite event, where we, in front of a bunch of executives, talking about leadership, Microsoft's leadership around frontier firms. How should partners think about frontier firms?
Yeah, it's a great question. In the last 6 months or so, we introduced this concept of a frontier firm, which is really around an organization that is AI first.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that's not new, but really we want to try and leverage all the experiences that we've had with many, many customers and partners and put it into some sort of success framework and provide sort of ingredients, if you will, on how to best get there. And so we came up with the success framework for becoming frontier in 4 areas. One is about enriching employee experiences, reinventing customer engagement, reshaping business process, and bending the innovation curve. And if you look at any of the innovation that's happened around AI and becoming AI first, all of the projects that we've done, the thousands, the tens of thousands of projects on AI that we've done have fallen into one of those 4 categories. So we spoke about the success framework and how we can help customers, become frontier.
Take us through it one more time, maybe just a little comment on each one of those 4, because I think every single one of them standing on their own is so important for organizations.
Yeah, so if you really think about it, it's about how we're driving business outcomes. So the first one is enriching employee experiences.
Nice.
So each of us is an employee of some organization. And how is that organization enriching that experience, leveraging AI so that individuals can do great work? Whether they're a developer or a marketer like myself, or a salesperson or someone in HR or finance, AI is changing our daily operations. And how can, on a day-to-day basis, can those people get their heads around what AI is, and then help them, leverage AI more? Then there's reinventing customer engagement. That's really about our customer's customer. And so how do we rethink that, help them rethink those engagements with AI? The third is reshaping business process. Of course, we know about the opportunity with AI and agents and how we can streamline process, remove hurdle, remove friction, make it faster and easier. And then the final is about bending the innovation curve. And that's really about the new wave of experiences and applications, and maybe even business models that might come up for our customers and how we help them with AI. So like I mentioned, this concept of becoming frontier is relatively new, but we have the success framework on those 4 areas and deep experience in those 4 areas where we've helped thousands and thousands of customers over the last 3 or 4 years.
So you lead the Azure partner business. How do you think about product strategy? And can you share more about Azure partner opportunities specifically?
Yeah. I'll take a minor step back and talk just more broadly about Microsoft, and then I'll drill into Azure. It's a great question. I love Azure, as you know. I'm part of the Azure team. But I mentioned becoming frontier, and at Ignite, we announced some company-wide announcements around products that we have available to help fulfill on those promises of becoming frontier. We announced 3 what we call IQs, a work IQ, a fabric IQ, and a foundry IQ. Those are really the intelligence within the organization that your AI and agents can leverage as a platform to get smarter. So work IQ is essentially the knowledge about your employees and how your employees work. Of course, that's confidential and proprietary to you, so no one else gets to see it.
Yeah.
But we provide you with the ability to leverage that information so that employees can, work better. Then Fabric IQ, that's how your business operates, so your business processes. And then Foundry IQ, that's the sort of business knowledge, how, different types of knowledge, whether it's a database or a web storage or a document storage, and how you can curate that so that you can have AI and agents sort of get smarter in the organization.
Nice.
And then, of course, observability. You want to be able to observe all of this as an organization. AI can do interesting things, and so you want to, govern and observe. And so we announced this thing called Agent 365 that got a lot of news, which just think about that as like Microsoft 365 provides security and identity for a human. Agent 365 does that for agents. So, of course, you want to make sure that agents have access to some things, not everything, they have an identity, so you can track them and what they've done on your behalf, and there's observability in terms of how they operate. So we made a ton of product announcements to serve how we are helping customers becoming frontier. So lots of great new and lots of opportunity, because as you know, in AI, it's not only about the technology implementation or project identification. There's a lot of change management there, in the technical systems, but in humans. Like, we're all workers today, and we operate our daily work in a certain way. In order to operate differently with AI, we have to train ourselves. And there's a bunch of change management opportunity for partners in addition to the technology adoption, implementation opportunity. So that's sort of at the all-up Microsoft level. For Azure, obviously Azure's Fabric and Foundry I mentioned earlier, that's part of Azure. And so Azure is the AI foundation, but we have other areas that customers are looking to us for. First is, core migration and modernization. There are many customers that have plenty on-premise estate, and in order to put AI around that data, it needs to be in the cloud.
Exactly.
And so we are still working with customers to migrate and modernize their infrastructure, and then build a unified data platform. Sort of the next area. Once they get their data in the cloud, they want to stitch it together, whether it's structured data or unstructured data, into one sort of experience. And then finally, obviously, you want to build AI apps and agents on top of all of that. So those are the three major areas, and tons of opportunities for partners, in those areas, through things like our incentive programs, Azure Accelerate, our program for software companies or ISVs, ISV Success, all layering out incentives, programs, and assistance to help customers in those 3 or 4 areas.
It's almost overwhelming to me in some respects, because we came out mid-November and then we went into the holiday season, and now it's January, right? So what do I do first? What would you say to the partners that are listening and watching today? What should they go do first if they haven't taken the steps necessary?
Yeah, firstly, just get educated, because to your point, the industry is moving so quickly, and we actually have a new mantra that we're trying to work towards, which is how do we honestly keep our partners and customers up to date with everything that's going on. And so we're trying to figure out how to use virtual experiences like this, go to their communities like yours, and just create the level of awareness. So the first is just get educated. Go look at our Ignite announcements. Go understand the 3 IQs, Agent 365. And if you're an Azure partner, like unpack go to the Azure deep dive. I did a session for partners on Azure specifically, where I unpacked the areas of opportunity with a few of my colleagues and leaders at Microsoft on the sales side, who have closer to daily deals with customers. So just get yourself educated, and then think through, how does your business and practice need to evolve and adjust, not in a light switch on or off situation, because that can be hard. But how do you want to slowly evolve it towards the things that where you might see opportunity?
Yeah, huge opportunities. And like I said, come to our events, because we'll have leaders from your organization coming and helping to instruct the partner ecosystem on how to be more successful. There's so much opportunity for partners this year. So let's kick off to Marketplace a little bit too, because it's been a big year for Marketplace. The first half of 2026, fiscal year 2026, has been a big year. A lot of announcements, a lot of things going on in the world of Marketplace. Where do we want to start there? Let's recap some of it.
Yeah. It feels like a long time ago, but at the end of September, at the AI Tour in Chicago, we announced the new Microsoft Marketplace. We reimagined that experience. It's a new customer experience, single destination for customers to discover, find, try, buy, and deploy cloud solutions, AI apps, and agents all in one place. And so historically, we've had a little bit of decentralization. We had this thing called the Azure Marketplace and AppSource for different experiences. AppSource was more for Teams and Copilot and Office. Azure Marketplace, of course, that was for Azure. We brought all of that into one place. So customers, whether they are looking for a SaaS solution running on Azure, an agent that snaps into Copilot, an experience that runs in our security store now, they can go to one place. Marketplace.microsoft.com. It's the new Microsoft Marketplace. And we have of course, we launched a brand new category, AI apps and agents, and we launched that category in September, bringing together numerous partner offerings.
Yep.
And today we have the largest catalog, probably in the mid 4,000s of AI apps and agents available to customers. So there was quite a big moment in September. And then fast forward a little bit to November, we announced the Resale Enabled Offer at Ignite.
REO. REO. I like REO. Reminds me of the band back in the day.
Yeah, REO Speedwagon. There you go. Well, and it's not that far from it, because REO accelerates what partners can do with the marketplace and really connects software companies and resellers, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second. But that's really the recap of the new Microsoft Marketplace, how we're enabling it for partners through the Resale Enabled Offer.
So I know we talked on this a little bit, but I want to maybe just expand on it. What does the frontier push and the marketplace evolution mean for partners? Because I think it's huge for these partners to really monetize and accelerate their success working with you.
Yeah. So Marketplace is really the extension of our vision for Frontier and the Microsoft Cloud. The Microsoft technology takes a customer a long way, but in many ways, to complete the thought and to, if you're in football terms, you want to cross over the line and score a touchdown, you can't just get to the red zone. You actually need partner solutions.
Yep.
And so that's where the partner solutions combined with Microsoft's first-party offerings become a really, really great offering and powerful offering for our customers to become Frontier. So we have obviously a ton of AI experiences, our own Copilot experiences, Microsoft Foundry, which is a platform for AI. But in many ways, we need those industry solutions. We need those AI apps and agents from partners to complete that offering. And that's really how it comes together. And, I heard you from Omdia was just on before me. They actually predict that the Microsoft Marketplace is a 300 billion partner opportunity by 2030.
Absolutely.
And, they're talking about, I think, mid-80s growth. We have literally seen our business for the last 3 years, and we're in the middle of our third year doubling. And so when you get 3 or 4 years of doubling every year, that's compounded doubling. We have seen lots of momentum from customers, lots of interest. We've made it, interesting for customers and incentivize our customers with their Azure commitments so they can retire their marketplace acquisitions that way. We've put incentives for partners and for our own sellers. So we're really creating the flywheel for everybody in the market to see value from the marketplace. So like you mentioned, like Omdia suggested, it's only exploding the opportunity on Marketplace.
Well, and you both touched on the fact that the data is not in the cloud yet. Not all the data that needs to be in the cloud in order to drive the future of where we want to go from a society and from a business application perspective needs to be in the cloud. So huge opportunities for partners around data estates, around securing that data, governing that data, and so on top of all the business applications promise. So incredible.
Yep.
So let's talk about
the core migration. People think that is over, and it's long from over because customers have plenty on-premise, not only Microsoft technology, but the software company or the ISV app that sits on top of it, and that needs to be migrated, managed, modernized. And Marketplace is a big part of that too. But there's so many services and opportunities around it.
Incredible opportunity. Let's talk about the channel and the channel opportunity. You touched on this earlier, right? So this really lighting up the channel. I saw this loud and clear when we were at Ignite. Like, this is a huge opportunity for the disties, for the resellers, for all of the partners. And as part of REO, you've got huge opportunities you're laying out for them. For the 500,000 partners, we talk about the Bill Gates moment down here in Boca. This is where it all started. How do you think about Marketplace in the channel today?
Yeah, it's vital. We have a customer need from the smallest of small business all the way to enterprise. And the only way we serve that, the only way we know how to serve that is with our partners, from the largest of partners that serve our top enterprises down through what we call small and medium, and then down to our small business. Yep. And so, we have seen our while we've seen a doubling of our business, we've seen 3.5 to 4x doubling of our channel-led sales over the last year. And so while our overall business is doubling, channel is accelerating even more. And so there's a need from our customers because they buy from our channel, and there's obviously a need from the channel. And so we created this Resale Enabled Offer, as you mentioned. We announced private preview in September and launched GA at Ignite, so November, just before Thanksgiving holiday. And Resale Enabled Offer is all about scale and how we connect an independent software vendor or a software company to authorize a channel partner to resell on their behalf on a particular geography. And that allows software companies to expand into new markets with very little overhead. And it allows the channel partners to create a set of offerings, not only from one partner, but you might have multiple software companies or applications that are stitched together to create an end-to-end customer offering or experience. And so we are seeing many-to-many relationships. So software companies might authorize many resellers, many markets they're in, for example. Yep. And then resellers, they're becoming authorized resellers from many software companies so that they can really stitch together end-to-end solution. And we're loving it, and we're getting great feedback. It is early days for our global availability for Resale Enabled Offers, which was just November. But we had partners that were literally waiting and waiting for deals. And within the first week, they were processing the Oreo deals at quite large scale already. So we're excited about the feedback that we're getting. As you know, we stay close to that feedback and we listen well and adjust from it. So we got more work to do, but it's a great opportunity to connect our multiple types of partners, software companies and resellers.
Yeah, I agree. And, I talk to a lot of these organizations myself, and there is palpable excitement in the channel from disties that were sort of disengaged a couple of years ago, maybe trying to figure out where they were going to monetize. And the other area that's aligned to this as well is the MSP community. So these MSPs are getting bigger and bigger, and organizations like Accenture, Avanade, and Kyndryl are becoming MSPs or creating MSP practices within their own firms. But there's even these smaller MSPs, but many of them are getting to $1 billion or more. These were little mom and pop companies years ago. But the customer so needs to have, especially with AI, right? Because we're in a constant state of evolution right now. I need somebody that can help me on the tooling and then also help me on, getting the tooling to work. And so we're seeing a lot of excitement from that community, which wasn't really as engaged with Microsoft the way that they are now. They're really getting engaged in a big way.
Yeah, it's promising. Like you say, we're all learning this new AI world, and obviously marketplace has taken off. We've had the classic SaaS solutions or cloud solutions on marketplace for a while, but really having the local partner that's close to the customer and what the customer is trying to do, and be able to connect the traditional software as a service applications with these new AI experiences and really stitch them together and help them operationalize, in their own, in their own terms, in what they're trying to do, is so important. And to your point, they're the large ones that are seeing opportunity on the marketplace, but when you get down to medium and smaller businesses, they really need their local friendly reseller to help them. Yeah. So you're right. We are seeing a new energy engagement from not only our existing 500,000 partners, but a bunch of those new ones.
So again, second week of 2026, and people are really just starting to wake up from the holidays now. They're getting ready for their SKOs. All these partners are lining up and getting their teams aligned. You're in front of them. Let's have a conversation. Like, what should they be doing better and differently? What do they need to go do now? It's 2026.
Yeah. First of all, if you're a software company, understand what the Microsoft Marketplace can help you with. It can help you scale to global markets, remove burdens like tax, processing, engaging with customers. We're seeing acceleration and doubling of, not an acceleration in deals, but doubling of deal sizes as, through the marketplace. It helps with engagement in different types of companies, or different types of roles in a company, whether it's a procurement person or an IT person or a business person. So, get onto the marketplace, create offerings, and give us feedback. And then on the reseller side, also lots of opportunities. Register as a marketplace reseller, enroll. Understand the benefits and the Azure sponsorships that we have available for you that you can close deals with, the credits and incentives that we provide to you, and then figure out how you do your first deal with a software company. A lot of people will say, like, should I have a big strategy? And yeah, I mean, if you want to, that's okay. But just getting into the marketplace, figuring out one or two deals, transacting, and seeing the opportunity is many ways the best way to do it, and to learn it yourself. And then you figure out, okay, where's the opportunity for me in this deal? Am I in the transaction? Am I in the services around the transaction, or a combination? And just getting your feet wet will get you going and get you learning.
I think about this in the time the partners they have this huge opportunity with Microsoft around Marketplace, and then thinking about how they build their own ecosystem. And like you said, don't try and boil the ocean, right? Don't try and do it all at once, but start out small, but understand, work with the Microsoft teams, understand how co-selling works, how to engage with the Microsoft organization, how to be up on Marketplace, how to situationally, Jay and I were talking about this 28 moments. And he talked about a deal that started out as an AWS deal, but it wound up a Microsoft deal because NTT and Software One were involved in the deal and influencing the customer's decision process, working with Microsoft. And so we just need to be smarter. I think today it's a very different model than it was 20 years ago when you and I got started in this business. And people just really need to go think about this more strategically and how they build this.
It's great. I totally agree. Like I said, getting your feet wet, understanding the co-sell, to your point, and how Microsoft sells, and then understand what customers are trying to get out of it with their Azure commitments, and how they can retire their Azure commitments through purchases on Marketplace, which incents them to also work on the Marketplace. So I think partners will find Microsoft sellers' own compensation incentive to work. We will find that customers are incented to transact on the Marketplace. And so just enter that triangle and get engaged and learn, and then give us feedback. Like I've mentioned many times with you, we take feedback every month from customers and partners in forums like this, in other forums, and then we evolve and build out stronger experiences.
Yeah. And your team is going to be on point. We have two events past today's live stream. We have the Boca Retreat here, February 25th. I think Jason Rook is going to be joining us from your organization. Knows everything Marketplace, so going to be great conversations for folks in the room and on the live stream. But more importantly, what's becoming our flagship event is this event May 12th and 13th, or May 11th is the welcome reception. And I'm hoping to have you personally on stage. I know I've spoken to several members of your team, and actually, maybe creating opportunities for partners that are there that need to learn more and engage better with the Marketplace organization. We're going to provide, some rooms and things for the team to engage. So for partners that have not engaged yet with Cyril's organization, now's the time to come join us. Cyril, so great to have you today. I appreciate you getting up early and coming to the office early today and being with us. Anything else you'd like to share? I just so appreciate working with your organization and team and all the great work your team is doing.
Yeah, no, listen, it's a two-way street here. Thanks, Vince. It's always a pleasure. I get great feedback from this community, so please keep it coming. And look forward to the engagement in May and learning more, and ask some hard questions of Jason when you see him in Boca in a little bit.
Speaking of questions, I want to check to see the group from LinkedIn was pretty quiet earlier. I just want to see, were there any questions specifically for Cyril? They're checking now.
Great.
Anything on the LinkedIn? It's taking there's a little bit of a technology delay. We'll have to get you down here, by the way, Cyril. I know it's a long trip from Seattle. I do it from here in your direction all the time. But I'd love to have you personally come to the studio, and we'll do a podcast here as well, although we've done some really nice things on stage together.
Yep. We'll see what we can do.
Yep. The weather's not so bad right now either.
I was not joking when I looked at, my family and I try and take a small, over the holidays, and we looked at Florida because it's definitely a little bit better than the Seattle weather.
It's certainly better, and there's some places to visit, especially with the younger people. Any questions? No, I think we're good. Cyril, I want to thank you again. So great to have you join us today, and so excited to continue our mutual relationship and our beneficial relationship in 2026. So thank you again for everything you do and supporting us.
Thank you. Happy New Year to yourself and your community, and thanks so much again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyril. Have a great rest of your day and week. Thank you.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So I mentioned this earlier. There's a slide up here about it, but the Ultimate Partner Winter Retreat is going to be here in the Boca studio. This is the third year that we're going to be here in Boca. This is always a favorite of our community members, our executive members, our sponsors and speakers. We'll all be here in the studio, which is a really intimate setting. We can seat upwards of 40, 50 people. We'll be hosting an incredible dinner at the Boca Resort overlooking the golf course. That's an incredible property. And we'd love to have you join us. There's only a limited number of seats. I will tell you, it's mostly for speakers, sponsors, and there are a limited number of seats available. If you go to the Ultimate Partner /events, you'll see the link to sign up today. And I also mentioned the Bellevue event, which will be at the St. Reed, at the lovely Intercontinental Hotel. And that's going to be an incredible event. The Intercontinental is a brand new property in Bellevue. And what an incredible opportunity to be in the room with leaders like Cyril and other top leaders as well. And as a surprise, I don't think I've mentioned this publicly yet, but Nina Harding will be here for the February event as well. So great opportunity to meet with the leadership of Microsoft at our events. Incredible value. You can talk to anyone that's attended our events. I will tell you almost unanimously, I hear stories every time I speak to people about, I met this person, I met this company, I've formed this relationship and partnership based on being in an Ultimate Partner event, and people have multiplied their success. They've accelerated their success as partners, working with the hyperscalers like Microsoft, working with some of the tech giants like Cisco and Elastic and ServiceNow and Veeam and Cohesity and all the others that come join us. What a great opportunity. I hope to host you. I'd love to see you here. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for supporting us. I did a post this week. It is the 9th anniversary of the Ultimate Guide to Partnering. That's how we got started. I was with a Yeti mic trying to figure out how to get moving and helping partners be more successful. You see, I was a Microsoft executive, and I saw what the best did better, and that wasn't being shared with anyone. There were only a few companies that really knew how to reach the pinnacle of success. And so the Ultimate Guide to Partnering and Ultimate Partner was formed to help unanimously help you achieve more, to help you achieve your greatest results. We started with a podcast. It took off even more during COVID. And then after COVID, everyone was saying, let's get back in person. And we hosted our first event in Dallas, Texas, and that snowballed into doing 2 events the next year, 4 events this past year, and we're doing at least 5 events this year in 2026. 5 Ultimate Partner events, from live events, which are our larger events, to our executive forums and winter retreat. And I hope to see you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of the Ultimate Partner community. And I hope to see you this year at one of our events. Thank you.